We are back with Tony Atlas. The last interview we did with him on the Hannibal TV was in kind of chronological order, but this one is going to be random questions that fans have sent in, as well as questions I have after finishing reading his book, which is a great book.
Thank you.
If you want to tell fans to start things off, where can they find your book if they want to?
Well, the book was written by a guy named Scott Teal. Scott Teal is a friend of a lot of the old-time wrestlers, and you can reach him at crowbarpress.com. That crowbarpress.com. Or if you're looking for a Tony Atlas book, just go on the computer and write in Tony Atlas book, and it would pop up. The amazing thing about today's technology is if you just know the name of the person that of the book, even if you don't know the company, if you hit the person's name and put book behind it, if they got a book out there, the computer will show it to you. But it's crowbarpress.com, and that's where you can find the Tony Atlas book. He also did a book on Ole Anderson, Mid-Atlantic Days, Ric Flair, Stan Hansen, Ivan Koloff. So he's the type of guy that kept a lot of us guys alive. He's a great writer, good writer.
And speaking of Ole Anderson, you had a lot of experience with him, especially in the Atlanta territory. Why did you think he was such a good booker?
Ole Anderson had a good head on his shoulder, and even though he talked very brass and everything, he was a very humble man. And Ole didn't mind putting over. He was about making money. He was not a glory hound. Like, for example, if you could pack the arena, then Ole gonna go out there and jog for you. He would lay down for you. He ain't such a glory hound where he feel that he have to win every match. You know, if he would sacrifice himself to make money. You know, the glory was not as important as the money to him. Just like people don't realize the Four Horsemen was Ole Anderson's idea. You go back again, we talk about WCW. Ole Anderson started WCW. They kicked him out later. Georgia Championship Wrestling. What made that so successful was Ole Anderson. And among the Anderson team, first it was Gene and Lars Anderson, where they were mediocre. Gene was always a great, and Lars, they both were great wrestlers, but it really didn't get the real popularity until Ole Anderson came along. And you know, the thing with Ole Anderson and Ric Flair, you know, go back for a generation. But Ole was just a very, very smart individual. He had a good head on his shoulder for the wrestling business.
Could you tell the story about him and the karate guy in the gym?
Well, one time I was in the gym there, and this guy, in the old days, guys used to always come and talk about wrestling fake, and everything. And Ole said, I'll tell you what, kid, that karate you do ain't worth a crap in my business. So the guy said, well, you don't want me to hit you with one of my punches. And Ole said, I'll take any punch you got. So Ole walked away from the guy. So the guy thought Ole was afraid. So then Ole came back about 5 minutes later, and he told the guy, he had his shirt, said, come on, I don't believe in that karate. Go ahead and show me, kid. You know, show me what you got. So that guy drew back and hauled out and gave Ole one of his best punches right in the midsection. Wham! The guy broke his hand. Ole lifted his shirt, took a 25-pound plate from under his shirt and dropped it on the floor. So that karate ain't all that good, ain't it, kid?
That's hilarious.
He put a 25-pound plate underneath his shirt. The guy hit that plate and broke his hand.
Now, you've had the NWA Georgia titles with Kevin Sullivan at one point. We've done a few interviews with him. Do you have any memories of him?
Well, Kevin Sullivan, what I remember about Kevin Sullivan, I remember the first day I saw him, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. He was walking around the building. I was riding with Klondike Bill and Johnny Weaver, who was two more old timers. And they always looked at Kevin Sullivan and said, during my day, your height meant a lot. And they say if that guy was about 3 or 4 inches taller, he'd be one of the biggest stars this business I've ever seen. Because Kevin was like a fire plug. He was as wide as he was high. And he was very, very strong. Always had good, strong legs and everything. He was a hell of an amateur wrestler too. But even though he didn't have the height that most of the wrestlers did back in the early days, Kevin had the same ability as a Chris Benoit or Rey Mysterio. So even though he was not as big as the other wrestler, he risen to the top without the height. and became one of in my opinion, one of the best tag team partners, one of the best wrestlers that I have known in my career. He was extremely strong. I've seen Kevin take 500 pounds and squat it for 20 reps. I mean, his legs was tremendous, and he had a great head on his shoulder. You know, he was the creator of Woman, and and everything that he did with WCW. He booked for WCW. They don't give the book to just anybody unless they figure you have some type of idea of what the business is all about. So he's a very impressive person. Even now to meet him, he's very impressive. Listen to some of his story and things he did. A great friend also.
What was the whole situation with you and Jim Duggan on Legends House all about?
People ask me about what happened with me and Jim Duggan on our Legend House back in 2012, and to be honest with you, I don't have a freaking clue. I never knew Hacksaw. One of the things that, if you notice, that I said the whole time that I was on Legend House, and Piper said it, Jimmy Hart said, Hillbilly Jim said the same thing. Wrestlers really don't know each other. People think we really know each other. The only time a wrestler in my day would meet each other is in the dressing room and in an arena. We're in the dressing room, in the arena, we're not being ourselves. We're being a certain character for the wrestlers, to get their respect. Then when we go in the ring, we play another character. But when we go home to our wives and kids, we be ourselves. Well, they were the first time where they had put a bunch of wrestlers that didn't know each other personally and put them all in one room under one roof for 1 month. And want to see how they work with living. See, I could be anywhere when I'm on the road. But then when I'm at home, you relax, you do what you want to do, you're in your own space there, you got your own space. But then when you have to live with guys, it's like you have to live with them. And it's a difference between living with someone than just going visiting somebody. Cause when I see these guys at the arena, I went to my room, I went to sleep, they went to their room, they went to sleep. But at Legend House, you can't get away from each other. You're with each other 24 hours a day. So it caused a little friction. Why? I'm puzzled by it, because I don't think I said anything wrong. We was with Gary Busey at the dinner. I don't see where that would upset Hacksaw, but I say that we all need to work with helping the young people. I don't see what's wrong with my elbow bumping up against him, a guy that been hit in the head with 2x4, been hit in the head with chair, fall on concrete floor, been hit in the head with everything, had several concussions, they're juiced every night, and all of a sudden my elbow just bumping him on his back, gonna make him cry. Don't understand it. But life goes on. Water under the bridge.
And you spent some time in the Dallas territory. Any memories of the Von Erichs?
Well, one thing that I would say about the Von Erichs is that they had a gold man. And what really hurt their territory was the fact that not just them. Same thing happened with Jerry the King Lawler. Same thing happened with Nick Gudis. Same thing happened with the Von Erich. Same thing happened in Florida. What would happen, you get the family that runs the business. After a while, everybody that came to work for these guys, the Von Erich, if you start becoming more popular with the fans than the Von Erich, they find some reason to either get rid of you or to break you down. They would not let anybody be above them. Now, I was there one time and they had a guy, his name was Brian, what was his last name? I know his name was Brian. And by accident, just by accident, he did the thumb. The name probably come to us before this is over. He hit you in the throat with the thumb and tape, and he hit Kevin in the throat with the thumb. Well, Kevin been up all night doing, I don't want to say what he did on TV, but you got an idea. He been up all night partying. So as soon as he hit him in the throat, Kevin started vomiting, foaming at the mouth, and he ended up having a strike Caesar in the ring, in the ring. So everybody thought that came from Brand Adidas. They thought it came from his thumb. So the next day, everywhere Brand went, sell out. Completely sell out. He sold out Dallas, sold out Fort Worth, sold out Mesquite, sold out Austin. Everywhere we went was a complete sellout. What do you think the Von Erichs did? They started beating them. And once they beat him, we had no more heel. There was no heat on the heels because as soon as like the Ultimate Warrior, he was a heel when he first went into world class, and he started becoming real popular as a heel. Well, they didn't want to beat him because they figured they're going to kill the house. So what they did, they turned him baby faces and used him as a partner. You know.
Yeah.
Then when Curry came back, he couldn't get above the Ultimate Warrior. So guess what they did? They stopped booking him. Me and the Warrior used to sit in our apartment for 2 weeks. And they was booking shows, and we was out on none of the shows for 2 weeks. He was fortunate; he had Japan to go to, and also the Warrior also with Vince McMahon wanted him in WWF. It was no WWE; there was WWF. They wanted him, so he went to Japan, did his little tour. When he left Japan, he went to the WWE. He became one of the biggest stars that Vince ever had. I went to Puerto Rico, so we all went somewhere else, but he would not book us. We couldn't even get work because they could not rise above him. So they either get rid of you or they start beating you every night in the ring or kill you off. And Jerry the King Lawler did it, Nick Goudas did it in Knoxville, Dusty Rhodes did it to every wrestler that came through Florida. If you start getting bigger than Dusty in Florida, you out of there, buddy. And that's the difference between Ole and Amsa. If you start getting bigger than Ole, instead of stopping you, he push you more. Because Ole's looking at, hey, this kid could draw more money than I can, so why did I got myself on top position when I got a kid right here could make me 5 times the money? But the way Dusty Rhodes and the Von Erichs and them guys said, I don't care how much money this guy could draw, I want to be king. This is man. I don't want nobody being bigger than me. And that what hurt all these territory. What made Vince McMahon so great is that he did not wrestle. And when he did win in the ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin, you didn't see Vince going away beating Stone Cold. See? Yeah. Now Dusty would have beat him. The Von Erich would have beat Stone. There would have been no Stone Cold Steve Austin if Vince had the same vitality. And they did. Vince went in the ring to make Stone Cold bigger than what he was. You know, he sacrificed himself to make Stone Cold bigger than what he was. You know, with the trucks and the beards and Vince taking the move, finishing move and everything. Vince sacrificed every night, went out the ring, beaten up, bloody, you know, pants down, embarrassed, humiliated. He didn't care. The business was more important than glory. See, some wrestlers got what we call glory happy. And most wrestlers that try to promote, they are that way. They make themselves champion. They glory happy.
Now, you mentioned you used to know the Ultimate Warrior. Any memories about what he was like in those days?
To me, I didn't know him that well because I only knew him for a couple of years. I knew him we was together about, I would say, for about not quite a year in world class. And then I went back as Saba Simba for Vince in the 90s, and he was around. He always been a gentleman with me, always. We worked out together, you know, we both into bodybuilding. So we went to the gym together all the time, and we never really discussed wrestling, nothing, but to me, he wasn't just a great individual. It's nothing in particular that I could name about him, because the only time that I ever talked to him was either in the gym or at the arenas. You know, we didn't travel together, we didn't ride together, or unfortunately, now I look back, I wish I had spent more time with him, because he's no longer here to know. But during the time that I did was around him, he was always a great person to me.
Is it true that he would, you don't have to answer this, but would he like to drop speed before his workouts?
Well, I never see him take any drug, to be honest. I never see him take steroids. See, guys in my day was very, very private. And the only way that you could find out what a wrestler really did, a lot of wrestlers would split rooms. Like they would get a room with 2 beds in it. And of course, if you're in a room with a guy, you see a guy do a whole lot of stuff that you normally would not see this guy do. Just like if you share a room with me, you would see some girl with tennis shoes on walking on me. That's what I did. So you would see that. I mean, you would hear about it if you didn't spend in the room with me, but you would actually see it. Like if you were with some of the other guys, you would see this guy have sex with a girl, because a lot of guys used to bring girls to their room. But if you're not in that room, you don't see it. Another guy may be shooting up steroid or smoking weed or snorting cocaine. But if you're not in that room with them, then you don't really see it. So I never seen him do anything. Because like I said, the only place I saw him, the only time that I saw him was in the gym and in the arena. That was the only time I came in contact with him. I see him every morning in the gym, but in the gym we don't talk.
Yeah.
We did the lift. The only thing he would say to me, "Come on, Tony, you can do it. Come on, you can do it." And when he go to lift, come on, Warrior, give it to me, baby, give it. You know, we just encourage you at the gym. And then in the arena, we talk over our match and what we're gonna do, and that was it. So I never really got to know him on a personal basis, which was kind of sad because I would like to got to know him better. And that was a great thing about Legend House. We was given that opportunity.
A lot of younger fans only know you from your MTV True Life episode. You want to talk a bit about that and how that came about?
Well, what happened was MTV was doing a documentary on wrestling, not Tony Atlas, wrestling. So what the narrative was, they wanted to do a wrestling school. They found a wrestling school where the guy trained to be a wrestler. Then they wanted to do a story on the independent wrestling group. And fortunately for me, the promotion I had at that time was chosen from. They chose it because they knew who I were. Now I asked the guy, I said, "Can I be on there?" He said, "No, this is not for you, Tony. We want to film the guys going through the ropes." See, first in the wrestling school, then they wanted to show guys on the independent circuit and getting the on the job experience. Then they wanted the end of it supposed to be when you reach the big time, which is the WWE. So what ended up happening, we did the first show where the guy, what I call my money man, he was the guy that was backing everything. He was the guy that wrote the checks. So when MTV when they hear that all the wrestlers in Maine and Massachusetts and Canada hear that MTV was be at this show, every wrestler this side of the Mississippi called me. Said, "Tony, can I be on the show?" I said, "I'm sorry, guy, the show is booked." Another guy called, "Sorry, guy, the show is booked." When I got there, now I'm supposed to be the booker. Nobody's supposed to be on that show without, I'm the one, that's my, not the promoters. His job was to promote the show and sell tickets. That's his job, not to book talent. My job was the booker job is to book talent. Jim Barnett never interfered with Ole Anderson booking talent. The Vince never interfered with Pat Patterson booking talent. And like that now, Vince don't get involved who Triple H book or what Stephanie do. That's their department. Make a long story short, I would say there was about maybe 200 wrestlers in that dressing room. At least 200. Now, the way I had the show booked is 3 shows. My big show was the last show. I called for King Kong Bundy. Well, any independent know if you got doing a high school, King Kong Bundy ain't the guy to be there because he's going to eat up all the money. So I had Tom Brandon to be my main event for the small event. Then I had another guy called Dave Vicious going to be my main event for the next event. And then the third and final event, I wanted King Kong Bundy to end it with a big superstar name. So James told Bundy he's on all 3 shows. I can't pay him for all 3 shows. There's only so much in the budget there, I can't pay Tom Brandon for all 3 shows. I can't pay Dave Vicious. Then I had a Canadian Hercules too. He was a guy up here, he's still big guy. I had Canadian wrestler, but each guy's supposed to have. I want a group of guys on this show, a different group on this show, and a different group. There were maybe 6 wrestlers I was going to use on all 3 shows.
Right.
But these were like the top of the independent world at that time. And these guys were like, freaking fantastic wrestlers at this time. A lot of them, like Taz, and all these guys, they all, Tommy Dreamer, they all went with ECW later. A lot of guys that was on that show. Like Tom Brandon, the Patriot, he ended up going with Vince later. So the talent. Right, exactly. So the talent that I have that I was going to use, but I didn't want every guy for every show. And I wanted every show to have a different main event. That way, everybody could get exposure. See? Now, I could pay Bundy for 1 show, because Bundy, I'm not going to mention his price, but Bundy is high maintenance. You know, plane ticket. Yeah, you know, anybody. You know, I got a plane ticket to worry about. I got his pay to worry about. I got his hotel to worry about. And so it was, you know, that was a big chunk out of the budget just having for that one show was making the budget tight. Now for 3 shows, I had to make 3 times. So after the first show, I said, James, our budget is about gone. We got 2 shows to go. I said, we can't. He said, well, don't pay them. And I said, you don't ask guys to come all the way up here and don't pay them. He said, oh, they understand. So a couple of the wrestlers, believe it or not, came to me and said, Tony, we just want to be on MTV. You don't have to pay us. And I said, I can't have 4-hour shows. People don't want to sit through a 4-hour show. You know, I said, I'm trying to spread all you guys out where everybody get a little piece of this stuff. After the first show, James called me up and said, I'm canceling the shows. If I can't run things my way, this is my business. I'm putting up the money, and then you trying to take my business away from me. I said, Jim, you hired me to do the booking. You hired me to do this. So he canceled on us. So the MTV had nothing to do. They came up here. They got 2 days of taping to do. They only taped 1 day. And then they got 2 more days of taping. So they drove all the way up from New York to Maine, which is about, for me, it's about 6.5 hour drive in a car. They had a van with all the equipment stuff. So about an 8-hour drive for these guys, you know, to come up here. Now they got nothing to do. So one guy, they got to talking to me, and I started telling him stuff about me. He said, you know, maybe, so let me call. So he made a phone call, and they said, well, we don't have, instead of coming over, why don't we just do a thing on Tony Atlas? And that's how it happened. I wasn't even supposed to be nowhere on the tape. I asked him, could I be on the tape? God told me no. He said, this is for, because that's definitely their theory. The training, on the job training, and the job. That's how they wanted to go. But instead, it was the training, nothing in the middle. So what they did, they said, my segment was after the glory. So instead of doing what you do before you get to Vince, they show what you did after Vince. That's why I was towards the end instead of in the middle. You notice Vince was in the middle all the time?
Yeah.
Because it was the rest of school, Vince, and then Tony. See, Tony, what they did, they changed the whole scenario and said, well, this is what you do, this is what happened to you after it's all over with. And the movie was made from that too, called The Wrestler. You know, and that was based on that same scenario. You know, the guy lived this high life, and then he loses everything, and all of a sudden hit rock bottom, and they run around doing these little small gimmicks and gimmick shows and stuff. And so that's where they did with that.
Now, I was talking to superstar Billy Graham last night, and he told me that I should ask you about the bench press contest you did in Houston.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, see, what they normally used to do with the bench press contest, we never really lift the weight that the contest never really end. Like when I arm wrestled Jesse Ventura, I never really beat Jesse. As soon as I get Jesse halfway down, he hit me with a table or something. Well, it was the same thing with the bench press contest. We would start off with maybe 135, then we go to 2 1/4, then we go to 315. But as soon as I go to do the 400 or 500, that's when they would do they would attack you on that. But that was done not only with Superstar Billy Graham, I did that with Ken Patero. I did it with Ted Arcidi in World Class. So that was a good draw. But the good thing about these contests is what was so amazing, we used real weights. You know, the weights were not folding. You know, with Superstar, what he was lifting, that was what he was lifting. When I did the 500 pounds in the ring, it was 500 pounds. It was not plastic weights or phony weights or nothing like that. And what we used to do, we just always let the wrestling fans, as they come in, to try to lift the weights. So they know, and we would get a local gym to bring the weights down.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
Now, you had some contact with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you want to just talk about that? I think you trained at the same place for a while.
Well, Arnold, and when back in the late 70s, early 80s, I used to go every time. Most bodybuilders, I don't know what they do today because I hadn't been in bodybuilding since 1985. They would all go to Gold's Gym in Santa Monica, California to train. Arnold Schwarzenegger, when I went there, he was not coming to Gold's Gym, he was going to World Gym because Joe Golds, who sold the business to Pete Gronkowski, in the contract, he could not open up another Gold's Gym. So he opened up World Gym. So Joe Gold started Gold Gym and World Gym. So Arnold used to go to World Gym all the time. So I used to work out with Lou Ferrigno at Gold Gym. So Arnold, when he did work out, he would come in early before everybody else do and get his workout done. Now he would hang around about an hour or so to mess with you. You know, and he would never tell you nothing serious. Like one guy was asking one time, say, I don't know, I want to get this contest. I know you won a lot of contests. I say, oh man, you're going to do great. But if you want to really get the people attention, this is what you do. Every time you hit a pole, you holler to the top of your lungs. Wah, wah, wah. So the guy said, oh man, coming from Arnold Schwarzenegger, this got to be true. So the guy went out there to do his routine, and he did exactly what Arnold told him. Rah, rah. They thought he was nuts to kick him out the contest. So he was a prankster. But I'll tell you one thing about Arnold, for all the people that I met in my life, him and Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, success never changed them. Arnold was the same person when he started making moves. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I regret it today. Arnold made Conan the Barbarian. Well, I was coming from the gym one time, and Arnold was pulling up. And he said, oh, I've been looking for you. He said, I just told him about how you was built, and I had at that time 23.5-inch arm. He used to always call me tricep, because you see a lot of guys that had the big bicep, but very few guys had these huge tricep and bicep. And I was one of the few that had both. So he used to always call me tricep. He said, I told him about your arm. He said, we're going to do a wrestling part in two. And he said, I know you could choreograph, me and you could choreograph a great wrestling match because I'm a wrestler. So he gave me his card. He said, meet me in the morning. So I said, okay. I take the card. I put it in my pocket. So I went out. I was with this girl. We went to the beach. You know, did what we had to do at the beach. Went back that night. We partied half the night away. So finally I said, oh, shoot, I got to call Arnold. I reached in my pocket for the card. Couldn't find it. And that was Conan 2. And I missed it. And every time I saw Arnold after that, he wouldn't say nothing to me. And so finally he did. He said, you screwed me up on that one. Because he put his neck out there for me. You know, telling people about this bodybuilder that he saw and this and that. And then I didn't show up.
Now, you talk in your book about a little backstage scuffle you had with Shane McMahon that I was a little surprised to read about. Can you talk about that?
Well, see, a lot of people don't realize it, but Shane McMahon is about, I would say, one, not the, but one of the toughest people in the WWE. You know, he's a lot stronger and a lot tougher. He may not look, he may not carry himself that way, but I was in the dressing room one night, the Barbarian was sitting there. I'm standing there talking to the Barbarian, and Shane came up and hooked me. Now, right away in my head, it felt like two steel pipes wrapped around me. That's what it felt like. So I said, oh, that's the Iron Sheik, because only the Sheik had that much power in his forearm and hand. So I go to underhook him to break out of it. I had to struggle. We fell all over the dressing room to get a loose from him. Finally, I did get a loose from him. Then I looked up and it's Shane. And he looked like he wanted to hit me. He said, damn, you almost broke my damn arm. I said, I didn't know it was you, brother. His eyes, the white part of his eye was bloodshot red. So he left out of the dressing room. And Barbarian looked at me and said, I would have let him take me down. About a month later, I was gone. So I think that little scuffle is what caused, that's when I was Saba Simba.
Okay.
I looking back on it, I didn't think about it then, but now that you asked me today, probably the first time I thought that could have something to do with my release, because the room was full of wrestlers.
Right.
And I just embarrassed the boss's son. But that's why I say Shane is one of the toughest guys that because I've wrestled myself, and I was bench pressing over 600 pounds at the time, and it took me a lot to get away from him. If he grab a hold of you, you're not going. And now he's bigger, he's stronger, he's older, he's wiser. So I would say he's one of the toughest guys in the WWE now.
And he has taken a lot of high-risk bumps that do hurt. So
he's amazing. He's amazing. Come on, how many guys you know could come 10 feet out of the air to do an elbow? How many? Do you ever see a 10-foot elbow? Shane McMahon could do that. He's a very amazing athlete.
Now you have a picture in your book locking up with Muhammad Ali. What was your interaction with
Well, see, what happened, Muhammad Ali was making his comeback. This is after, he got the courts, all that stuff with behind where he got suspended and all stuff. So he was making a comeback, and he would go to different places and make a comeback. Well, he's getting ready for a match with the Inoki in Japan. Well, they wanted a couple of wrestlers to get rid of Ali to teach him how to fall and do things so he don't go out there and kill himself. So we hung out for a while. We didn't do anything but laugh and joke. That was Ali. He just play around with you all day. I didn't teach him anything. I tried, but he just, he just didn't take nothing I did say. But then when he got to the match, I noticed he wished he had learned some stuff because he stayed away from Inoki. But if he had played the game, but Ali just never took it, said it. But he was about one of the best people I ever met. What surprised me about Muhammad Ali was his size. He's probably about 6'2", 6'3", And he was a big man. So I never realized his height, because on TV he don't look that big. Right. But when you meet him in person, he was I would say about 6'3", 6'4", is what it was.
Is it true that I don't know if you know this, but the Inoki fight there was originally supposed to be a work, but he didn't want a job to Inoki when he saw how small.
No, what happened, the boys played a joke. When they told Ali when they told Inoki that Ali going to double cross him and punch him, knock him out. That's why Inoki stayed on the ground so he don't get hit. Okay. But Ali was not going to hit him. The American boys did that. They messed it up. They messed up a $1 million show because they told Inoki that Ali had held it. See, back then you got to realize what the difference was. A wrestler could not lose to a boxer.
Right.
Because wrestling was portrayed then to be legitimate. My job, was to make the people believe in the sport. The wrestler today job is to entertain the people. My job was never to entertain, it was to make you believe that what I was doing for real. Like for example, if you ever watch me do a press slam, the guy would hold their hands out here. Because I didn't want people to think they helping me. And if you helped me when I was doing my press slam, I got mad at you. I would tell you, don't move your hand. I'd drop you on your face and start over again before. But everybody I press, I wanted to do it myself. I want people to see that I could do this. When I do the 500 pounds, I wanted to do myself. I wanted people to see I could do it. Our job was to make the people believe. Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair, they would go out in the audience where they get within 3 feet of the fan, and they would just lay one in on each other. Where the fan is sitting right there, they're only 2 or 3 feet away. So they would hear the sound and they would see the connection. So there'd be no way in the world that people say, that's not a real chop. Yeah. I seen Joe LeDuc one time, he got juice in the ring and he didn't get enough juice. So now he got to walk to the crowd to go to his car. But he said, well, when the people see that little scratch on my head, they're going to think that there's nothing wrong because, sometimes a little scratch, when your heart is pumping, you get a lot of juice. So it don't have to be a big cut to get a lot of juice. So what do you think Joe LeDuc did? Took that old razor blade and just cut his whole forehead up again. So when you go out there, the people see a bigger cut. He took the cut over there. I see Captain Lou Albano cut the side of his face with a razor blade and stuck his tongue through it, just so the fans would see it. If you got a broken nose, the promoter say, oh, great, let the fans see it. If you break a hand, oh, fantastic, kid, this is great for the business. You get a broken nose, you get 2 black eyes, oh, the promoter went nuts. That was wonderful. The first time that I broke Hulk Hogan's nose, it's a match. That match, if you watch on TV, it's in the Spectrum, got the Spectrum in the center. Hogan covered me, but his butt is here and his head is down here. So I just bring the knee up to knee him in the head. Hogan, at the same time I brought my knee up, lift his head up.
Yeah.
I broke his nose. Right in the match. But you would never know it because Hogan and I, we kept going. He finished that match with a broken nose.
Wow.
And nobody knew. But every time I see Hogan, he reminded me of that. He said, you remember when you broke my nose?
Is it true Albano was drunk a lot of the time?
Every minute of the day. Captain Lou Albano would come in drunk. And I'll tell you a story. When Captain Lou Albano get drunk, he had no respect for nobody. One time he went in front of Vince McMahon's mother, who is Vince Sr.'s wife, and exposed himself in Madison Square Garden. That's what he would do. And why he didn't get fired or lose his job, I have no idea. But at that time, the wrestler, if you drew money, you was able to get away with a lot more stuff. See, what Vince did that is different. See, when Bruno Sammartino was champion, without Bruno, there was no business. Bruno were the WWF. He was their brand name. When Hulk Hogan was WWF champion, without Hogan, there was no wrestling. So Vince McMahon got smart to it. Instead of wrapping the territory around one wrestler, Vince made many superstars. Like right now, John Cena took a 3-month break or something, a month.
I don't know, but
he was gone for a spell.
Yeah.
The business never stopped going. Undertaker, one of the biggest draws Vince ever had. He only wrestled once a year, but the company keep going. See, now the brand is WWE. Not Undertaker, not John Cena, not Hulk Hogan, not Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah.
See, and that's why a lot of us old timers stayed popular. Like when me and Rocky, we were champion, the whole territory was wrapped around me and Rocky. If we wasn't there was no house. Now, if John Cena, I'm using him because he's one of the biggest names in the WWE. If he don't show up, he still got Roman Reigns. He still got all these other guys. And once you take these guys off the WWE, they don't have the company keep going.
Yeah.
Because it ain't the person, it's the company itself. So the WWE is the brand now, not Hulk Hogan. Remember with Hulkamania? That was the brand. Nobody knew about the WWF. They knew Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
They didn't know anything. Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan, Hulk Hogan. Now it's WWE, WWE, WWE. See, it's the difference. That's a smart move on Vince's behalf. He made the company the main thing, not the wrestler.
Now, we've asked a lot of wrestlers about the whole Jimmy Snuka murder situation, and when I finished reading your book, I read that your ex-wife...
She was his girlfriend at the time. Was one of his girlfriends. She used to date him.
Because the girl that passed away, I guess that was
they was buddies. Well, they was buddies. They hung out together, and she was in the room when the incident happened, and she said, "What did he hit her?" He went to get some cocaine. She came back with nothing. He just went through an 8-ball that day, and he came up off that bed and he hit her, broke her neck, and that's what she said. Now I wasn't there, but and then she ran out the room. And she left her purse. And she started dating me, hoping that she'd get her purse back from him. But I didn't. I mean, dude, I don't know what happened to that purse.
What was the talk in the back like? Because you were in there at this time when all that went.
Well, what ended up happening in the wrestling world, once stuff like that happened, the talk is no talk. If you talk about it, you get in trouble. Snuka at that time was a big star. So Vince didn't want to hear it. You had to protect the business because, he was with the WWE. So Vince knew that this going to hurt the company. So if I get her talking about it, spreading rumor, it's kind of like the Bruiser Brody thing. I come back to the dressing room, nobody want to talk about it. They talk about it now because Carlos Colon is not as big in the wrestling world as he was during that time. But during the time of the murder, there was hush-hush. The only person that opened their mouth about what happened was me. I was the Long Ranger in talking about. But as you see, I never worked for Puerto Rico again. They got rid of me. I got blackballed not only by Carlos Colon. I got blackballed by Vince McMahon. I got blackballed by every company around. The only guy that would even touch me was a guy that used to run ICW named Mario Savoni.
And that's why you ended up being homeless, I guess.
That's why I ended up homeless. Because what they did, they told Mario, Vince told Mario, if you use Tony Atlas, I'll put you out of business. He had me, Bob Orton Jr., and Ivan Puskin working for him at the time.
Now, when I interviewed Rocky Johnson, he said that he felt Snuka could have been bigger than Hogan at one point, but
no.
No.
You see, this is what Rocky don't understand. And don't get me wrong out there, people. I don't want y'all to get me wrong. This is not racism. This is business. Hulk Hogan was the first Anglo-Saxon wrestler to be on top since Gorgeous George. That's why it would not have worked with nobody but Hogan. Plus, what really made Hogan big was the Ayatollah Khomeini. He was holding the American hostages. So the Vince got this bright idea to take the Sheik and make him world champion. He was the hottest heel that they have ever had in their life. So what brother got to come and beat the Iron Sheik than what we consider an all-America, blonde hair, blue-eye, bronze body, Anglo-Saxon, Viking. So it wouldn't have worked with them. You got the two minority. Every top star in the 80s was a minority. People forget that. Bruno Sammartino was Italian. Pedro Morales, Puerto Rico. Johnny Rod, Puerto Rico. Tony Atlas, black. Rocky Johnson, black. Jimmy Snuka, Fiji. Mr. Fuji, Oriental. They didn't have nobody but Bob Backlund. He was the only white guy that was on top. Think about it. So Hogan and Vince changed the whole face of wrestling by he started putting Caucasians on top. Ronnie Piper, Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, Kurt Hennig, Randy Savage. If you look at all the wrestlers, the top stars from 1980 to 1985, they was all minorities. During the Hogan era, the only minority that was on top was Tito Santana, but they never put him in main event, and Junkyard Dog. So he made 77% of America are white. 77%. Only at that time, only probably about all the minorities in America was probably about maybe 17% at that time. So Vince McMahon believed, because he was in New York, he had to have somebody to represent everybody in New York. But Vince saw it bigger than New York.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Vince saw that we're on cable now. It's not everything not syndicated. This is cable. So Vince wanted something that they're going to appeal to the whole America, not just New York. See, Vince Sr., he did it that way because where he wrestled, he used to tell me all the time, "Oh, I got to have you in Washington. There's a lot of blacks in Washington." But guess what? None of them came to the match. Every time I wrestled at the Capitol Center, 98% of the audience was white. I used to tell SD, why Vince said a lot of blacks? I don't see no. The only time I see blacks in Washington, when I go in the street. They wasn't at the matches. They was not wrestling fans. They was basketball fans and boxing fans. Blacks mostly during that period, you know. So he had this idea. He had to have somebody to represent all the ethnic group. And what Vince did, if you ever know, and that's why Hogan and Snuka would not have worked. He couldn't cut the interview. He didn't have the talent. He didn't have the personality Hogan had. He didn't have the size. No, it wouldn't have worked with nobody but Hogan. That's why it worked.
Yeah, you can't argue that it worked.
It worked. So you can say somebody else should have been there all you want, but it worked with him. So why would somebody even think that somebody else should have been there? Hogan, nobody could have got that done with Hogan. Nobody.
Now, you told me a story on the phone about the Iron Sheik getting a blowjob when he was taking a crap. Could you tell us that?
Well, it wasn't just the Iron Sheik doing it. I was in the bathroom one day and I hear, excellent, excellent, excellent. And I opened up the show and there was this girl sitting there just piping away on the Sheik, and the Sheik is taking a crap out at the same time. But I have seen a lot of stuff a lot worse than that. I've seen Sonny Fargo, a brother, the guy who used to play crazy, one of the Fargo brother. I hope I can say this on TV. He would take a Tampax, a used Tampax, and put it in his beer, drink the beer, wring out the Tampax in the beer, and then drink it. Yeah. I can tell you some stuff to make all you people out there sick. I've seen it all. Because when I first started, if you didn't have, that's why I'm always bragging about my foot fetish. It was the only normal thing in the dressing room. I was more now out here in the real world, having a girl to step on your face with titty shoes sound weird to the average guy. To a wrestler, oh, that's nothing. You just see what I have girls doing to me. I mean, boy, because when you're on the roll every day, the brain get a little goofy. Yeah. And then when you're able to pick up women's every night, you kind of get more of what they call traditional. So when a girl come to a wrestling room, most of the time, The reason they called the girls arena rats back in the old days, the girl would service all the boys. And if you kept one girl to yourself, they called you a fence builder. So when the girl got through with me, she did Abdullah, she did Sheik, she would do all the boys. And that's why they call them rats.
Is it true that, well, I know it is true actually, I don't doubt it, but the story that you and Tommy Rich had some groupies in your room and you brought in a mass wrestler and he banged one of them with a mask?
Yes, and everybody know who that mass wrestler is. I never called his name. Well, what the hell? Well, I don't know if his wife's still around or not, but he live in Hawaii now, and he wore a white mask with a black face, and he used the knee as a finish. That's all I'm going to say about him, because I don't know if his daughters or everything. He never took the mask off. In fact, this same wrestler went to the White House and put Jimmy Carter in a headlock with that mask on.
Wow.
He would go into the bank and cash his check with that mask on.
Which they would never allow today.
We just see him do these things that we just could, because he was just so popular in Georgia that everybody knew who he were.
Yeah.
They knew who he were, so he never had to take the mask off. He could go anywhere and they would say, "Hey, Mister," you know.
Was Tommy Rich one of the guys that could get the most groupies? I heard he was pretty known for that. The girls just loved him.
When Tommy, the first night that Tommy came from, I was wrestling on a mask then as Black Atlas. I used to wear a mask. And they wanted, and Abdullah just got back from Japan. And they wanted a wrestler just to come in to feed, what we call feeding Abdullah, which means he gonna go around the circuit with Abdullah. Abdullah gonna beat him everywhere we go. Then they're gonna send him back to Tennessee where he come from. They had no plans for him. So I had my match, and I went back to the dressing room. All of a sudden, Ole Anderson came running back in the dressing room. "Get your ass out there, hurry the fuck up, hurry up, get your ass out there, stop this. We're gonna have a riding on our hand." I said, what? He said, "They're coming to the freaking ring. You gotta get out there and get Abdullah out of the ring. So I put my mask back on. I ran down to the ring. I jumped into the ring. And Abdullah said, hit me. He's scared to death. Tommy Rich had that blonde hair. His hair was solid red. He bled so much. Solid red. Abdullah said, hit me. So I started hitting Abdullah. Abdullah said, "Give me a slam." Now, he never took a slam. This is his first slam. Never took one day in his life. So I picked Abdullah up for the slam. Boom. My mask came off. That was the beginning of Tony Atlas. I was Black Atlas up until then. So now I'm standing in the ring with no mask because I forgot to tie my mask, so it came off. So I got Tommy Rich back in the back. The next day, they teamed me and Tommy up. And they had no plans for him. But he got over the first day. The women went freaking nuts. It was like Elvis coming in there. I never seen nothing like that. And from that day on, once they put him on TV, the women, I mean, about 60% of every arena went to was women. They used to come to his car bringing food in the room. I mean, I never seen women chase out this, nobody. He was like Elvis, the Elvis Presley rat. He was a young kid, very, very nice looking young man. You know, silky blonde hair, big, bright blue eyes, you know. He was like Elvis. And the women just loved him to death. He was the Elvis Presley in the 70s of wrestling.
And I think it's common knowledge that Missy Hyatt was with him. Do you have any stories about Missy Hyatt? Because we interviewed her a few months ago.
Only thing I know about Missy Hyatt, she's a very, very talented young lady. And with all the women wrestlers, I want to say, up until now, up until just recently, they never got a fair shot in this business. And when I look back on they made the same trips we made, went through the same training, went through the same crap as we all did, but never got the break. The first woman I ever seen get a break in this business, the first, was Wendy Richter. She was the first that they put any attention on. I feel bad for Mae Young and Moolah, because Moolah was around for 50 years before the world knew who the hell she was. They didn't make no magazines of it. They never made a movie of her. Look at all the stuff. They made movies of all these old timers, books of all these old timers. What did they ever do for Moolah? We never had anybody to hold her title that long. And Moolah in real life was tough as nails. She was tough and there. Now I noticed this was the first WrestleMania that I have seen where women, Charlotte Flair and them was featured in a main event.
Right.
In a main match. Normally when they have a women match, they have a battle royal or bikini contest or something that should be in a strip show, not in a wrestling arena. But this was the first thing that eventually started a new woman division now. Most time you watch the WWE, you see 3 hours of wrestling, one woman match. Like what it used to be. Now I notice you see 2 or 3 women matches. So the women's are getting more exposed. Now they got the divas, which give women a whole new outlet. Unfortunately, the divas narrow down to only a few girls that get that opportunity to be on that. When they first started, I like it a lot better because they introduced, there was Natalie Neidhart was on it, this girl was on it, that girl. Now it just boiled down to just 2 or 3 women, that wrestling women. You don't see all the divas like you did at the beginning. The beginning, to me, the first divas I like better because you got to see more women's got exposed.
Right.
Now it's focused on just making 2 women, not anymore. I don't even see Natalie Neidhart on there anymore, who came from a great wrestling family and probably one of the toughest people, not just females there. She could whoop half of the guys there. People don't know that. She's a hawk, remember?
I actually trained with at the same time as her.
She's tough.
I've felt her slaps firsthand.
Yes. She could whoop half of the guys there. People don't know how tough Natalie Neidhart is. Natalia Neidhart, what I want to say.
And I read in your book that Randy Savage thought you were shooting on him once. Could you tell that story?
Well, what happened, I was a collegiate wrestler before I became a pro wrestler. So that night, I was learning the ropes, and I was teamed up. It was me and Johnny Weaver against Randy Savage and Steve Strong in Charlottesville, Virginia. And so what George said, hey, go out there and do some of that amateur stuff. Do some of that amateur stuff. Well, I went in, I started doing amateur wrestling with Savage. Savage thought I was trying to shoot on him because I was doing real moves, So we kind of locked up a little bit and everything. He got so pissed off. What I did is, Steve said, tag me, brothers, tag me. So that the Randers tagged Steve out of the ring, and then me and Steve finished the ring. They wouldn't let him back in no more. But he wanted to fight me in the ring because he thought I was shooting on him. Because I leg dived him. I was amateur. So they told me to show people some of that amateur stuff, Because everybody in Virginia knew I was an amateur wrestler, but I never did it in the ring. So George Scott thought it'd be a great idea if I just do something. And he figured Savage knew something about amateur wrestling. We found out later he didn't. He was a baseball player.
What did you think of him in later years? I get you probably had some contact with him when you were Saba Simba. Or maybe he was a big star by then, so he had his own dressing room.
Randy Savage never had more than 2 words to say to me. Now, Lenny, his brother, was different. Lenny socialized with everybody. Randy used to have his own room, him and Elizabeth, and he would not socialize with anybody. I see him come in many a time. I say, hi, Randy, hey, keep walking. Wouldn't shake my hand, wouldn't nod at me. I was invisible to Randy Savage. Absolutely invisible. Then he go in his room, him and Elizabeth, and that way he sat. The only person that Savage talked to during that time was Hogan. If you wasn't Hulk Hogan on Vince, he had no time for you. That's just my experience. He may have been a great guy, but I only could go by how a person treat me. But with Lenny Parker, his brother, hey, Tony, blah, 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 blah. Lenny was one of the boys.
Now, I've done some interviews with Lanny over the years, and he's admitted his talent to us, about his special ability. Did you ever see him do that in the dressing room?
Who?
Lanny, his autofellatio ability.
No, I heard about him wrapping his penis around his wrist and stuff like that, and giving him himself his own head job. But see, we didn't travel together.
Right.
See, back then they had what called cliques.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys travel by themselves. A lot of guys would travel with the office, and a lot of guys would travel with these groups. And they had cliques. Certain people. That's why a lot of guys I never knew Hacksaw. I know more about these guys now on the independent circuit than what I did then. Like with Big Boss Man, all them guys were making all the big money and everything. They didn't hang around certain people.
And you wrestled the original Sheik, I guess, once maybe. I don't know.
No, more than once. Yeah, more than once. I wrestled him several times. I remember the first time I wrestled him, I kept asking him, what's going to be the finish? I tell you in the ring, kid. I tell you in the ring. I said, well, what we doing tonight? I tell you in the ring, kid. Tell you in the ring, kid. So I even went to ask Ole, because this was in Georgia. I said, Ole, what we going to do? He said, oh, don't worry about it. Sheik been there a long time. He take care of it. He sure what to do. So as I'm getting to the ring, the referee come over and say, he's going to jump you. So I said, okay. So I crawled through the rope. The Sheik jumped me. Beat me up. I'm selling. I look up. He's going back to the dressing room. So I said, what in the hell? So I jump out the ring. I went and got him. Paid a little comeback. I took him back to the ring, hit him a little bit more. I headbutted him. He rolled out. He limped back, went back to the dressing room. He wasn't going to go into the ring, beat me up, leave me, and go back to the dressing room. That's what he wanted to do. That's why he wouldn't talk to me about nothing.
Which would have killed you in the town.
Yep. But Ole Anderson said, you are the luckiest guy that ever lived. I said, why that? He said, you always carry a knife. He said, you're lucky he didn't cut you. He said, you're lucky he didn't cut you. But he let me take him out the ring. I gave him 1 or 2 punches, and when I gave him the headbutt, he fell back. Let me go, kid, let me go. Boom. I headbutted him, and he went back to the ring. But that was his plan, to do that. Because I was a young kid, didn't know how to protect myself in the business. And that's what he wanted to do to me. He wanted to beat me up and leave me laying in the ring.
Now, one of the funniest ribs I ever heard that I guess could have gone terribly wrong was Dick Murdock sending you to the KKK compound.
Yeah. After I took and won the Mr. Georgia competition, and I was getting ready to train for the Mr. USA. USA, you have to win a state title before you go to a big title, either a state or regional title before you go to a Mr. USA or Mr. America or Mr. Universe. So he said he's gonna give me this paper to go to this meeting. So I asked Tommy Rich to take me to the meeting. So Tommy is driving, and we sitting there, we smoking and drinking and everything. We off that night. So I said, well, let's go to it. And Dick Murdock kept saying, you're gonna be the light of the party. You're gonna be the light of the party. Like light, you like turn the light on. So Tommy Rich, and it's going up this little dirt road. He said, get down, T. I said, what? Get down, T. Because Tommy and me was like brothers. Anybody know Tommy Rich, know Tony Addy? We was not buddies, we was brothers. We still brothers. I love Tommy Rich more than any wrestler I've ever met in my life. He's my brother. Therefore, I never say nothing bad about him. I don't want nobody to say nothing bad about Tommy Rich. If you got something bad to say about Tommy Rich, just don't say it in front of me. Love him to death. In fact, I'm giving him a little plug. Tommy Wildfire Rich have a wrestling school in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So any people in South Carolina, if you're ever in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, look up Tommy Wildfire Rich Wrestling School. And he just started this about a year ago, and he's doing well, and it's a great wrestling school, and you couldn't get a better teacher than Tommy Wildfire Rich. But anyway, Tommy told me to get down, so I got down, and I looked up out the back window, and I saw the guy with the hood and the shotgun walking around portraying the press. So I would go back dressed. I said, Dickie, why are you trying to do this? And he said, well, we didn't think you were going to really go. And it was just a rip. Another time.
What did they say when you got in there?
They just called me stupid. They already did, because I didn't know things. You got to realize where I was raised up at. I was born in Clifton Ford, Virginia. I was raised in a town called Lowmore, Virginia. Lowmore had one store. We went to school, all black school. Now, all black school back in my day, what a white school got in the 10th grade, we got in the 6th grade. That's where the old joke come out, he only got a 6th grade education, because they didn't want to educate minorities in America during this time. So our education level was always lower than the white kids. But then they desegregated the schools. They integrated school with blacks. And then from the 70s on, blacks was allowed to receive the same education as whites. Up until 1971 or 72, blacks didn't get the same education as black. We got old, outdated books. Hand-me-down books and stuff. The classroom was one room. We didn't have all the mechanic and trades and stuff. And then we had counselors. So when a counselor come up to us and said, Tony, what you want to be? I said, well, I want to be an artist. Oh, no, you don't want to be an artist. You go to work for the railroad with them muscles you got. So they would try to encourage blacks during that time to take labor jobs, not to pursue doctors or lawyers or anything that have a title. So, and then we were programmed, and that's why a lot of blacks in America grew up later thinking that they never going to make it. Thunderbolt Palliser, a very real good friend of mine, they drilled that into him. Thunderbolt used to tell me every day, said, Tony, you're not going to get as far as the white guy going to get. The white man is not going to let you get nowhere. One thing he did tell me, though, that rang true, even today. Me and a bunch of guys, we were drunk as a skunk. We was up all night long. We ain't even been to bed. Hercules or Nanas, none of that. We ain't been to bed the whole night. So we was all trying to do the morning interview in Georgia. And they used to do interviews at 10 o'clock in the morning. They did that studio at Channel 17. Yeah. And then we used to drive down to Columbus, Georgia to do TV there. And then we did a house show that night. Well, anyway, they had to sober us up the next morning. Thunderbolt pulled me over the corner. This is what Thunderbolt said, Tony, you can't do what them white boys do and keep your job. I didn't listen to him. About 10 years later, Vince McMahon pulled me over on the side. He told me two things. He said, every time you see Hulk Hogan, I want you to remember these words. That coulda, shoulda, woulda been you. And he also said, I have to make an example out of you. That's why he never brought me back and did nothing for me. Because he felt that if you fired Tony Atlas, you fire anybody.
Yeah.
That was the message he was sending to other wrestlers. Of all the people to pick, he picked me. Everybody guys were doing worse than me. Worse. Guy was getting busted, Hacksaw and Sheik got busted on the interstate with cocaine. Didn't lose the job. Piper got in trouble, didn't lose his job. Hogan got in trouble, didn't lose his job. Snooker, girl died in his room, kept his job. I got fired for missing a couple of shows. I can't do what white people do and keep a job. And I told Thunderbolt that about 3 years ago. We was at an autograph signing in in Charlotte. Something like a cage or something.
Okay.
Yeah, you know which show.
Wrestlecade or something.
Yeah, Wrestlecade. Yeah, I only went one time. But Thunderbolt was there, and I ain't seen him in a year. And I told Thunderbolt about what he told me. And you know what Thunderbolt asked me? Well, did I lie? I said, no, you didn't. So I learned that even in wrestling, like Mark Henry can't do things that other wrestlers do and keep his job. He knows that. You know, we can't. Even now in America, black cannot do. Imagine President Obama acting like Trump.
Yeah.
How long do you think he would hold that freaking office if they start coming with prostitutes and money laundering and every dadgum thing else? And I don't know if it ended up is true or not. I don't know, because I don't be around him, man. But if he had that much stuff said about him, how long do you think he would have held that office? See, so even now today, we can't do what someone else do, even today. So it have changed a lot. It have changed a lot. I got to give my country credit. It have changed a great deal. Because I'm able to go places and do things that I was not able to do. One of the things that the guys used to do, I remember, I don't know if they mean any harm, but one time Ric Flair and Black Jack Mulligan asked me to go to Norfolk to party with this guy. When Rufus R. Jones was standing there with me, Rufus said, you know who they want you to go party with? I said, no. He said, he's the grand wizard for the KKK around this area. I said, why would they want to take me to the KKK? And Rufus said that Norvell Austin went, and they were to get a rocking chair, and they put floats on the side of the rocking chair. They take duct tape there and tape him to the rocking chair. They give him a pill to make him fall out, like sleep or something, in his beer. Then they take the rocking chair, tie a rope to it, and throw the rocking chair in the water. Then they take chicken blood or animal blood and pour it around the chair. Well, when the sharks come to bite the guy in the chair, they pull the chair. They use him to tease the sharks. Yeah. Raul McDaniel used to chase Norvell Austin down the street with a shotgun and shoot at him, just to watch him run. I can tell you tons of stuff that they used to do to black guys. They didn't do it to me for one of the reasons. I was very, very temperamental, and I was strong as hell. Yeah. So a lot of them was afraid of me. But then when I stood up for myself, I was the bad guy. So
yeah, you can't win.
I can't win for losing.
So was Dick Murdock actually in the KKK, or was that just a rumor?
No, he was acting. He told me he was. He told me himself. That came straight from his mouth.
Rocky Johnson told us that he was as well. So
yeah, well, Dick didn't hide it. He wasn't ashamed of it. And I asked Dick one time. I said, Dick, why you hate blacks? He said, I don't hate blacks. He said, I like you and I like Rufus. I said, why you like me and Rufus? He said, y'all no fool around with white girls. And I said, what they got to do with it? He said, you ever hear the old saying, once you go black, you never go back? And I said, yeah. He said, you know what it means? I said, no. He said, the only way to make a white baby is a white man and a white woman. No other way. He said, with a black guy, if he impregnate a Spanish girl, the baby's black. If he impregnate a white girl, the baby black. Look at Obama. His mother was white, father black, Obama black. Tiger Conway Jr. Tiger Woods, the golfer. Tiger Woods, the golfer. His mother Oriental, father black, Tiger Woods black. My grandfather is Scottish, McDuffie. I'm not. Do I look Scottish to you?
no.
No, because in mixing.
And you don't have the accent either.
Not even the accent. not nothing. But what he was trying to tell us, that the Klan was created to preserve the white race. That's why in politics now, if you know, every issue in the United States is a woman issue. Because only a white woman could give birth to a white baby. There's no other woman on the planet could give birth to a white baby. Now, a black woman, she only give birth to black babies. I don't care who the father is, that baby is black.
Yeah.
No matter who the father is, the baby's gonna be black. A black guy, whatever woman he impregnate, the baby is black. So, if you take American history to teach you a lesson, Thomas Jefferson, all of his descendants was black. He was the last white person in his family. So the best way to destroy the white race, if anybody want to destroy the white race, all they got to do is impregnate all the white women with minority babies. Because there's only one way to create a white baby. A white man and a white woman. It ain't gonna happen either other way. And if a white girl get impregnated by a black baby, and let's say you have a daughter, for example, that's what made Hogan so pissed off. Because he wanted his daughter to follow his trend. You got a white daughter, blonde hair, blue eyes. She married a black guy. Your grandkid's black. So your daughter is the last white person in your family. The Black Panther, years ago, you put these pamphlets underneath people's desks in a black neighborhood. Say the best way to destroy the white race is to impregnate their women's.
Was Dusty Rhodes racist? There's many people that say he was, and some people deny it.
There was nobody in America. I would say, instead of just name certain people,
Yes.
there was nobody in America in the 70s, in the 80s, that was not. They was raised that way. And people always look at racism from whites. There was a lot of racist blacks too. There's still more racist blacks today than it was.
It's just not considered as racist when they're...
Because they black.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Because they black. But I'll tell you, I live in Maine. Maine is 98% white. I'm safe in Maine. In Chicago, where in every black neighborhood, 90% of black homicide is done by blacks. 90%. 74% of black kids grew up without a father. I'm safer in an all-white neighborhood than I am in an all-black neighborhood. The only thing black people have to worry about in America is other blacks.
Yeah.
We ain't got to worry about the Klan. We ain't got to worry about some white guy coming doing anything. We have to worry about each other. Look at the homicide rate that they're done among. The highest crime rate in my country is black on black crime. Nobody want to say that, but it's true. We kill each other left and right.
Yeah.
Look at these young kids now. They shoot you for looking at them wrong.
Right.
They have no respect. Nobody want to work no more. They want to make fast money and just blow each other brains out. They don't do nothing to help the community. Communities falling apart. Families falling apart. 74% of black kids grew up without a father. So they don't even care enough about their own kid. So how can a person, if you don't care about your own child, who in the hell do you care about? But we always looking for someone to blame. I would rob every bank in the world if I could blame somebody else for it. People, in my book, you read my book, this is what I put down for me. This is for me, not nobody else. My success in life, I owe to thousands of people. My success. My failure in life, I owe to me. Couldn't nobody destroy Tony Adams. People say, well, Vince did use me as an example, but I put myself in that position. If I'd been doing my job and listening to S.D. Jones, my very best friend, and staying away from them guys, thinking I could get away with what they got away with, Vince would not have picked me. He couldn't have picked me. But he picked me because I was in the group.
Yeah.
But if I wasn't in the group, association bring on simulation. If I've been keeping my nose clean, making the shows, doing what I'm supposed to do, Captain Lou Albano said, Tony, keep your nose clean. They going all the way with you, all the way. Which means they was going to make me world champion. I was supposed to beat Backlund way back before Hogan even made the movie. They already started the match. They already started working the angle with Backlund hit me in the crotch.
Yeah.
I already working against Backlund.
Just on Backlund for a second, you mentioned in your book that you found him arrogant. Did you really think he was more of a heel personality?
Yeah. They had him in the wrong position. They tried to make him a babyface. But what ended up happening was he was in the wrong position for the time. He would have made a great babyface in the 70s, in the 60s. But the new babyface was more what they call a rugged babyface, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Or what about changing Billy Graham to a babyface? Because it seemed like the fans at that time were cheering him when he was bad almost.
Yeah, but see, that's what happened in the wrestling. Nobody liked the good guys no more. Vince McMahon, the one thing he got rid of was baby faces. John Cena talked the same way as Ric Flair did. In the 70s, Flair got booed. Cena get cheered. Yeah. You could not brag on yourself as a babyface. Babyface don't brag, and they don't put people down. You did the good thing. That's why you was a babyface. You did everything like John Wayne. He wouldn't hit you unless you did something to you. You know, he would hit you with the last thing John Wayne did. Clint Eastwood, that's the first thing he did. Yeah. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger went in as a heel, as a Terminator. They had to bring him back as a babyface. The world loved bad. Nobody likes good. How many movies they made on Sister Teresa? And how many movies they made on Al Capone? Who talks about good people? Everybody we go see a movie about, oh yeah, they got this new movie about Billy the Kid. Okay, Jesse James. Okay, Al Capone. Okay, OJ. Okay. Nobody likes good no more. The good guys in the world today finish last. When Obama was president, he's too nice. He's too good. Yeah. They hated him because he was just too, they say he was weak because he was good. So if you're a good guy, you are considered weak. If you understand it, you consider weak. If you compromise, you consider weak. If you're concerned about other people's health and welfare, you consider weak. So everything that is good about human mankind is considered weakness today. If you don't care nothing about nobody but yourself and you crap all over the world and crap all over everybody else, you're great.
Now, I heard the story in your book of Harley pulling your pants down in Atlanta and exposing you.
Well, I just got back from the contest I will tell you about winning the Mr. Georgia title, getting ready for the Mr. USA. So Ole Anderson said, I was showing the boys my trunks that I wrestled in. I'm on the Klondike Bill, say, oh man, you wouldn't get me in them things. But they were like bikinis, little bikini pants. So Ole Anderson said, I just got an idea, because he was the booker then. Wear them to the ring tonight. I said, Ole, they're posing trunks, your sack is hanging out. Oh no, the kids, the girls would love it. The girl would love it. He said, you can show off that big package of yours. He said, if I have what you have, I go out there naked. So I went out there, And at Harley Race, old school, he had his back to me, warming up and everything. He came into the ring. You know how Harley come in the ring, grab the ring, squat down, pull on it a little bit. Still got his jacket on. He ain't looked at me yet. I'm already in the ring. Freaking Harley, all of a sudden he go. He walked over, warming up. What in the fuck you got on, kid? I said, only told me to wear these things. He said, ain't no fucking strip tease. This is a wrestling match. And, you know, Harley got the thing up, you know, over top his neighbor, you know, the high up tights and everything like that. They fucking kids out here. What the fuck? He just cursing the whole time. So we wrestling. He stayed fussing in the ring about these damn trunks. Finally, he said, give me a backdrop, kid. So I threw him into the rope. I bent over to give him a backdrop. As he went over me, he grabbed them dadgum trunks and pulled them all the way down to my knees. And I pulled him up real fast. I snatched him in the headlock. Because then I took him over because I wanted to go down so I could, you know, tuck my balls in and everything. And I said, Harley, what you do that for? He said, oh, I just want the people to see the dark side of the moon. So we started laughing. We finished the match. I never wore them trunks in the ring again. Never again.
And you also say that he would bite your nipples while you're wrestling him. What the hell was that?
Well, sometimes when you get sweet with Harley.
Yeah.
See, every young lad started feeling their oaks. Everybody started feeling their oaks. Well, I started feeling my oaks a couple times with Harley. So I got a little stiff with him in the ring. So Harley would take my nipple in his mouth and say, if I bite your nipple off, you won't be able to win no more of them contests now, can't you? Loosen up, cocksucker. He just would remind you, take it easy.
And why is it that Ric Flair didn't ever like to drive with the undercard guys?
Well, because the guys that underneath you, they want to move up in your spot. So if any promoter want to get anything on Ric Flair, all you got to do is ask an undercard guy. He would do anything to get in Ric Flair's spot. If Flair told me he won't rob him because he said, Tony, you got your spot. You already on top. He said, that guy want my position. The people on the bottom all want to move up the ladder in all sports. So if they could do something to bring Ric Flair down, to pull themselves up, they do it in a heartbeat. So he only hung out with people along his caliber. We're the same thing in real life. I mean, if you got money, you living good, people jealous of you, they want what you got, you don't give them what they got, what you got, they start attacking you. That's why the tabloids are so big. We always want to attack those that is above us. See?
Now, I know you met Blackjack Mulligan when you were still a non-wrestler, and you've known him quite well. Why was he so tough? Everyone always says Blackjack was one of the...
Well, one thing about Blackjack, he had mittens for hands. He didn't have regular hands. He had mittens for hands. He was an ex-Marine, so he knew a lot about fighting. He had a short fuse. And also, he was 350 pounds and 6'8", or 6'7". And when he hit you, he knocked you in the middle of next week. That's the main reason. He was one of the biggest, toughest ex-Marines that this business ever seen. But me and him always got along great. I had a lot of respect for Jack. He worked with me many times, you know. I felt his power. I felt his weight. I knew what he could do to me. Him and Bruiser Brody, they were just big, huge, powerful men. And it took a lot to take Mulligan down. Nobody wanted to mess with Mulligan.
And do you have any stories about The Rock you could share with us?
Well, most of the stuff that I know about The Rock, I don't like talking about because I knew him more as a child. And, you know, you leave kids alone. So my whole experience with Dwayne, he probably don't remember a lot of them, but when he was a child, I remember him as a child, and I didn't see him again until he came back as in 1997 as Rocky Maivia. Then I spent maybe a week or two with him then, and then after that he left, and then I didn't see him anymore. So my most experience with The Rock was when he was a child.
And how are things with you and Rocky Johnson now? I know you're doing a show with him tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
I know you guys don't always talk the best about each other, but when you see each other, are you friendly?
Oh yeah, well I like Rocky. I got a lot of respect for Rocky Johnson. See, Rocky was brought up in a town where there was only room for one black on top. So the moment he see another black, that was his competition. See, among the blacks, whites were not my competition. Whites were not Rocky Johnson's competition because a white guy couldn't take Rocky Johnson's place. A white guy couldn't take Tony Atlas' place. Even in wrestling now, they got certain pecking orders. So Vince may say, I got 2 black wrestlers right here. Because I'm on Rocky call when SD was my partner. Rocky tried to come in there. Vince Sr. told him, I got SD Jones and I got Tony Atlas. I don't need another black. I got 2. You understand? Yeah. And it used to always be one black was on top, another was on bottom. Vince Sr. was the first promoter to put 2 blacks on top when he made us tag team champion. That would have never happened again. It never happened before in the business. Normally one would be the top guy, the next would be the bottom guy. When I was wrestling with Rufus R. Jones, Rufus was on top, I was on bottom. Underneath Rufus. Then with Thunderbolt Powers, if Thunderbolt was here, I was here. See, then when Thunderbolt left, they moved me up here. Then when I was with SD Jones, SD was here, I was here. But then Vince did this. Vince Sr. did.
Yeah.
For the first time in pro wrestling. They did a lot of stuff, because that was in the 80s then, so a lot of the feelings about black champions were kind of slowly disappearing.
Now you're wearing one of your Tony Atlas Mr. USA shirts, as everyone can see.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to buy a Tony Atlas shirt, where could they go?
They go to Pro Wrestling Tees, and they got the Tony Atlas shirt, and they got several Tony Atlas shirts, but this is my favorite. That's why I wear this one all the time. I like this one. But if you go on there, you see several different T-shirts that Pro Wrestling Tees did for us guys.
And anyone that wants to purchase art from you, you do custom artwork as well, I understand.
Or you can contact the Auburn, Maine YMCA. The YMCA in Auburn, Maine.
And we'll definitely put your other contact information in the description of this video for anyone watching this right now. Anything you want to say to close off this part 2 of the interview?
Well, what I wanted to say, that I'm very fortunate at my late years in life to be booked here, to wrestle here in Canada with one of the top promotion in the world. I'm very fortunate. I still got my health and no sickness or no illness. Most of all, I'm very fortunate to still be here. There's a lot of guys that I travel with, Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, Ronnie Piper, SD Special Delivery Jones, the Fabulous Moolah, Mae Young. What all them people got in common, they're all deceased. And I'm still here. So my mother had one thing to say, and I'm going to leave you with my mother thought in your head. Enjoy today, for tomorrow is promised to no one.